Okay guys, welcome back to Frugal Homestead. So it's finally time for a tiny home update. Not much to tell really, because there's been a lot going on. Now, for those of you that live in the homesteading lifestyle, you know that we got to get our gardens planted, you know, May, June area, somewhere here in Ohio. So we've been doing that. Firewood, many other things that just have to get done on a normal basis this time of year. So things like the tiny house have to slightly suffer getting as much done, but it's also a cost factor because you got to go make the money. Everything we're doing here is getting paid for as we build. We are buying the things as we go. So I've had to up working a little more. Missy's had to kick it up some. If you guys have been watching our community tabs, you've been seeing the actual numbers go up on our DoorDash, Grubhub, GoPuff, all the gig apps, making that money. That's how we pay for this place. Now, that said, we have gotten a few things done. I feel that it's starting to progress slowly, but we're about to kick it up a notch. We've also made some upgrades to our plans to improve how it works in the future. So come along, we'll share exactly what's going on, go through what's coming next, and talk about why we went out and made all that money. All right, first things first, guys. I got the drip edge and the fascia metal all broke and put on. So now that gives it more of a finished look. Now when I bring in the guys to the gutter, anything that's overhanging too much, they'll cut straight. It's not perfect, but when it was designed, it wasn't designed to have any of this, so it is what it is. I feel good about the fact that even though I still have to put the trim and the corners and stuff on, if I had to right now, if the gutter guys had an opening in their schedule, I could bring them out and at least get the gutters put on, because rain catchment system is going to be huge for this. So we definitely need to get that done as soon as possible. Now, just to scale, it's important to understand that the price we got for gutters went up exponentially. It's just insane. Between the cost of the coil stock that they make the gutters out of, labor, gas, and all that, the price has gone up a lot. That's one of the reasons why we've been working more to stack up more cash to pay for that, because that's just one more way that inflation and just life and everything is building up the costs on this tiny house for us. But it's not a problem. We've got it taken care of. We actually are planning on an even bigger rain catchment system now, and we found other ways to improve our cost. All right, guys, so as you can see, we made a change. So I got this window from my dad and cut it out, framed it in. I still got to do the finish framing on the edges, but it just allows a lot more light up in this very dark area and gives us options for other things in the future. This exact style window can hold one of those double blower fans really well, and those things move a lot of air if necessary. I don't intend on having that window open a lot, but sometimes in the late fall it's nice just to have the window up, smell the dry leaves and everything. So it was kind of something that Missy wanted, and I kind of agree that the light feature from it is enough to make it worthwhile. Now clearly we haven't got to do a whole lot with the insulation up in here. I do have the insulation to finish most of this as far as the foam goes and as far as the thermal barrier. But let me take a moment and explain how we're doing this now, because it's changed slightly. So here was the original theory, and that was just to put these in between purlins in, and that way we had a drywall nailer. And then we were going to put the thermal barrier, and that would give us the airspace between the foam, which is going to get filled in with spray foam at the edges to make it a complete connection, because you actually have to have your foam. It can't just sit in there. It's got to be sealed from post to post in order to work. And then the thermal barrier would be there, and there'd be an airspace in between, which acts as its own insulation level, and the thermal barrier actually reflects your heat and your air conditioning back into your house. So what we've decided to do is restructure this so that the wood is 22 and a half inches on center in between, and put fiberglass insulation in here and then cover it with a thermal barrier. So essentially it's gonna have 3 different barriers of insulation. It's just a small upgrade, but the one thing nobody in construction, all the years I've worked with it, has ever said is, oh, I can't believe we put that much insulation in. I wish we wouldn't have put that much insulation in. They always say, I wish I'd have put more insulation in. And I feel that this is one of those moments where it's worth investing the money, because staying warm and staying cool is gonna be a great priority as we age out. And it just makes sense. It will save us money in the long run. It'll make our lives a lot more comfortable. And the bigger thing now that we're thinking about is, as our dogs age out, we want them to be as comfortable as possible too. So we should probably talk about this, because this is something most people probably would not do. But what I've done is took silicone roof sealant, which, if you don't know, this stuff is like $150 to $200 a 5-gallon bucket now. It is super expensive. But I sealed the entire first floor with it. Now I will be doing the downstairs, but I actually ran out. I've even got some thin spots I want to thicken up a little bit. But the cost of plywood, a lot of people say, well, buy Vantech. Well, the problem with Vantech is it costs more than doing it this way. So this is the decision to seal these floors up. Now, the reason why I actually did this, honestly, is if we were to develop a leak, of course, but more so because we have our puppies and they are aging out. So usually as dogs get older, they have problems going potty, they might have some accidents, etc. There also could be a time to when, you know, you come up here in wet shoes or whatever. I don't mind replacing flooring. I don't mind replacing carpet. I don't want to replace subfloors. So it just makes sense to me to take the extra time to seal these floors up and make it so they will not absorb any moisture. I'm still going to go through and caulk all of the joints with silicone, because at worst I want it to sit there and pull up and dry, and then I can just change the flooring if it ever comes to it. So there also hasn't been a whole lot of movement on the camper, and that is because the kids are actually trying to get a house. The opportunity is still there, obviously, and there's no reason to make any assumptions on how it's going to go, because we all know when you're trying to buy your first house, it can be a daunting task. But we will see how that plays out and determine what happens from there on that project. But as far as I go, I now have a massive order in on wood. Now, I probably would have been buying smaller amounts and doing it as we go, even while working, but my truck actually blew a brake line and was down for a while. And then it had some rear brake issues where the wheel cylinders were leaking as well. Now, I kind of am getting to the point now where it's more cost effective to have the stuff delivered and build with it. So we're getting a big package together. Gonna be doing all of the purlin work, nailers in between, getting all this foam completely set, sealed in. I've got to put the trim corners and the trim down the gables on in order to get this thing dried in and really be able to push forward. But right now, we also are taking some time out to enjoy some time with friends and family and going on short mini vacations and stuff to the beach just to unwind some. We've been pushing hard. Honestly, for the last year and a half, 2 years, we've been pushing pretty hard. But the last year, we've been pushing really hard. And sometimes you just have to let go and unwind some and say, I'll get it. I'll get to it, but I gotta back up some and just take some time to unwind the knots. I personally feel like as time goes on, we're gonna have to do that more and more until we get some closure on this tiny house. And you gotta remember, we've got the original house we still have to fix up to be able to sell, which is a whole nother plan we came up with to make us get to keep the things we want, but yet still get the money from the property. So we'll talk about that in the next video. But currently I feel like we're moving forward. It's very slow, but this time of year, everything's slow. Getting anything done in May or June is an absolute nightmare because you got so many other things on your plate already. But with that said, we are moving forward. We appreciate you guys coming and checking out what's going on, being a part of it. The channel just passed 6,000 subscribers, which is beyond our wildest dreams. We can't believe this many people want to be a part of the family, and we appreciate each and every one of you. But with that said, I actually have to get to work before it gets any hotter. It's supposed to be a heat index of 105 today, so being up here hanging metal is going to be a hot one. So with that said, I will leave you here if you haven't already. And I don't know why you wouldn't have by now. Go down, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you see all these upcoming videos. Don't you want to see the tiny house grow? And make sure you give us a like. If you have a moment, give us a comment. Tell us what you think, any ideas. We're always open to hear new ideas. You've seen us change the blueprints. We've seen us change things. I just changed the insulation. We are not afraid to pivot and move to improve what we're doing or optimize it. So with that said, I will see you in the next one. Whew, it's gonna be a hot one. Holy cow.